also I was able to break cycles and exit some doors because it's changed like my food intake, uh, drinking intake, water that is. But I'm excited. I'm excited. So thank you. I do look forward to continuing the challenge. I don't know if we're going to do it in June, but I look forward to continuing it for myself. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Glory to God.
Awesome. Anybody else got something coming on up? I shared this a little bit in the morning, but I don't know if everybody was there for it. I ran with a guy named Kobe who found us. He's a former, Army veteran. Just got out a couple months ago. I think he just came to Jesus like a few months back, and he's not here right now because he's passing out Bibles at like some sort of outreach event. And we ran essentially the whole 2 laps together. And what's really cool, I remember this specifically, like I spent right around when I first became a Christian was like maybe 7 years ago or so before I met my wife Sammy, and I was sleeping on the couch at my sister's house, and so I had my 3 nieces living there with us, and one of their favorite things to do is to go for a prayer walk with me, and I'd always kind of get as a very new Christian, you kind of get very analytical, you're almost more like religious than older Christians, right? And so, I'm going for these walks with my nieces, and I'm in my head of, we said we're going for a prayer walk, but like, we're here talking about how her favorite color is pink, and how we just found an ant, and there's some bugs over here, or why is that dog not on a leash? Like, we're not really talking about like Jesus or God, and something that came to me then, and it came back to me today is, man, Jesus is right there with you. Like, he's going on that walk, and he's looking at the bugs, he's looking at the dog off the leash with you, asking questions, wondering the same thing, laughing when she laughs, laughing when you laugh, and enjoying it. And I think that's one of the pieces that we have to remember, as we go into health with Jesus. It's so easy to kind of get very religious about it, to where there has to be a perfect diet. You have to have a super structured exercise routine. If you mess up, you better go to confessional, because you jacked up. And God doesn't want to look at you. God doesn't want anything to do with you because you haven't been taking care of yourself. That's just not how it is, right? That's not how it is, and that's not how he shows up. And so it's always so fun to go on a prayer walk like that, because I just feel like a lot of shackles and pieces of religiosity and also of just oppression just start to fall away. Very similar to that Jericho analogy, right? Every lap you take, you're one step closer to the walls coming down. And we get to that 7th lap and the walls come down. It's like, oh man, I kind of want to go for another, but I guess God's calling me into the city to go do something, And so, for me, a prayer walk is such a beautiful thing. It's a little respite, it's a vacation. It's a step back from reality and into the kingdom reality to kind of be reminded a little bit of who you are. And which, by the way, who here was here last year? I don't know if we have any returners from last year. Okay, cool. So this is fresh for everybody. What we went over last year was really, what does it look like to build a blue zone here in our city? If you guys don't know what a blue zone is, there's 5 different locations across the world for it. There's one in Japan, there's one in Greece, there's one in Italy, there's one in Costa Rica, and there's another one over in Loma Alto, California. And so what these places are is it's places where people live to be 100 plus years old, happy, healthy, strong. In fact, in one of the documentaries on it, there is a 104-year-old cowboy at the time in Costa Rica who still rides his horse every day, chops his own wood, and still eats the same food every day. And every Tuesday night, he goes and has 2 beers and goes to the dance hall. And he dances with women 50 years younger than him, and that's what he does every single week. And he's 104 years old, right? And this is just how he lives his life. When you looked at the man, you'd think he's like in his 60s or maybe 50s, and he hasn't really aged much since then. And so there's really such an anointing in these areas of long life and healthy life. Not just long life, but we're going to put you in, a home and hope that, you keep going. But in fact, you're still a contributing member of society and a contributing member in the family too. And so that's really about a year or two ago in the Kingdom Health classes, we started just kind of praying into this. I kept getting this word of, that's something I'm really feeling for our community here. We talked about it a bit this morning. The average life expectancy in some zip codes of South Dallas is 67 years old, which is absolutely insane. You look at some places like Uptown, and it's 90 years old, just a couple miles away, right? And so with that, it's not a geography issue, right? It's a conversation issue. It's, culture, it's resources, it's all of these different things that have to happen for this to come to be. And so what we want to do in this seminar here today, myself and my wife, Sammy, will be speaking, and having a dialogue with you guys on what does it look like to build generational health within your families. And this is the type of health that doesn't just stop with you, going to the gym, getting in your workout routine and kind of just staying in your flow just so you stay in the flow, you're in your routine and never impacting anybody else, but kind of thinking about what Jesus talked about in the Sermon on the Mount of being the light, right? Letting your actions start to shine towards other people and inspire others. Letting your grandkids see you actually moving and say, maybe I want to do this. Or letting your nieces see you go for a prayer walk and they're like, hey, I want to go for a prayer walk. And letting this become something to where you're not controlling others and being manipulative on them and saying, hey, you have to start doing this or you have to start doing this because I'm doing it or because I want you to be healthy. But in fact, building healthy habits that start from that Christ-centered place, you're built on a rock, and you just can't help but have other people start asking questions. When you do that, when they start asking questions, they want to begin their journey or further their journey even more so. So with that generational health, it starts with you guys here today. And it starts with having a conversation on, number one, knowing a little bit about who you are. Number two, digging into health and really understanding what that is. And number three, taking a look at, hey, what are some of the practical steps that we can do to build out that longevity within our community. And also number four, I would say, is knowing what it doesn't look like too, because it can get really easy to start to get into this and say, hey, you're doing it wrong, but I'm doing it right. You know what I mean? And so we want to kind of see, all right, what does it actually look like to build this? So really excited to have that conversation with you guys here today. And also want to invite you guys too to join in on our Thursday night classes over at Kingdom Health. You can scan these QR codes to register for one of them. They're right here in the church. We do them over at 7 p.m. Over in the prayer room down the hall. And we have essentially like a Bible study in class for an hour, and then we do a workout for an hour. And one of the things that we're doing here is we are fundraising for equipment for that class, and I want to thank you guys. We've raised over $500 for it. I've already got all the equipment set up in an Amazon, ready for us to start getting. So we've got some new upgrades coming for you guys for that. So very, very thankful for you guys there, and I'm excited to be able to just, help support people, and that's really what we're doing in that class is just giving people a platform to start to expand their own health journey from there, because I'll be the first to say it, I am a health coach, I am a personal trainer, I pay my bills by helping people, get in better shape, but I am not anything more than you guys are, right? All I have when it comes to my own health journey and being able to figure out what works for me is Jesus Christ and my own experiences. And you guys have that same exact thing. It's not like I've got a notch up above you guys. You guys don't have a notch above me. So as we go into the conversations today, I just want, everyone to remember that you've got the same relationship with God that I have, that my wife has, that anybody else who's in shape or seems connected in this issue or this topic does. And so remember, he's your ultimate resource. You go to him, you go to the scriptures, you're going to be A-okay. Today, we just hope to have some confirmations and give you some ideas for some new things to do. So I'm really excited to dig into that. What's going to happen is I'm going to talk here first for a little bit, and then my wife, Sammy, will go ahead and have a conversation here, and we'll tie it all together. We should be ending right around 5 o'clock here today. We'll have a little bit of time for bathroom breaks and et cetera. And it's going to be fun. You guys ready to have a good time? Awesome. Sammy, were you trying to say something? Oh, yeah. Make sure during the breaks, check out these awesome vendors, guys. I can't tell you how good that cake was, how great the juice is. I'm going to go get my scan over here. I felt great after having some of the coffee. They've been here all day, and so we just got to show them some love. I know they got a lot of attention over in the morning, but make sure if you haven't gotten the chance to check out any of them, just go on over, pop on over. Right now, you guys are running a scan right now, right? Yeah, do you want to share a little bit about that scan? We didn't get to hear much about it this morning.
Well, actually, I'll let he's a better presenter than I am. Go ahead. Uh, is it evening, afternoon? Good afternoon, good evening. We're Vital Health, and we specialize in holistic medicine. You know, in the Western Hemisphere here in America, prescription is pills, pills, pills. And not knocking that, but we believe treating the body what God made, what came from the earth. So we also have a scanner here called a I forgot how to pronounce it. But in about 2 to 3 minutes, it runs all the vital points of your body. Just to show you how accurate, my wife outside, she's the one running around with the kids. When she did the scan, she had lost her glasses and eyes been straining for months. The report literally showed that her eyes have been straining. So anything that's going on in your body, fatty liver, issues with the pancreas, kidneys, it can let you know what's going on. And we have a different herb to support all those issues. So if you have pain, arthritis, we have something called Vitadol. If you have blood sugar issues, right, we have something called S-Balance. If you have issues with anxiety and getting sleep, we have something called Vitalase. So we have different herbs support every need of the body. And we make it really cost effective. And we got this great coffee. You can come and try it out. Free samples with herbs. We have one coffee that supports brain health. We have another coffee that supports your hormones, right? And then we have another coffee that supports weight loss. So we just in the holistic business, and we encourage everybody to come get your scan so you can see what's going on, and actually will recommend what herbs you need for your body. And we are Vital Health. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, guys. All right. Do I have you guys' permission to pray? Okay, cool. God, thank you so much for just the action takers here in the room, Lord, who are excited to be able to walk with you in their health journey and begin to unpack the secrets there, begin to, partner up with the simple truths that you are speaking into each and every single individual person, Lord. I just thank you that we have a relationship with you today, Jesus. I thank you that, you are that connection for us. We never have to reach further to find God. We never have to try to, just stress and hustle our way into a connection with you, Jesus. You're just right there with us, being the best friend that we could possibly have. And so in this journey of health, it's so beautiful to know that we don't have to have every single answer. And a lot of times it's just simply sit back and let you do your thing, God. And so today, I just really ask that you give a very distinct awareness for each individual person here on the things that are in their court, that they need to work on, the things that they need to apply, the things that they need to put in some effort and some time into, the things that, really just take some focus and some consistent hard work on. And also, God, the second half of that prayer is I pray you let us know when we need to back up and stop worrying about this thing, Lord. If there's anything we're doing right now in our health that is causing more stress than it's causing good, Lord, I just pray that you show us how to drop that. You show us how to fast from that. You show us how to release that and not let it have any hands on our destiny or have any hands on who we are becoming today, Lord. I pray just for a simple solution for each individual person here that they can take into their home, they can take into their families, and really be able to begin building out the generational legacy that we are called to build, Lord. And I just pray into any bodies here today that might be feeling any aches or pains here, Lord. Let the refreshing love of Jesus Christ just fall on every single cell, joint, body part where there is any sort of distress or dis-ease, and let it just be released in the name of Jesus. We thank you for healing in the room, and we thank you that this is a holy place here, God. I thank you that inside this room, people are going to be making changes and having conversations that will impact generations to come, Lord. We know that to build a blue zone, it's not something that's going to happen in the next 20, 30, 40, or even 50 years. This is a multi-generation long vision, God, and we are saying here today, we are excited to be a part of this vision and to be the forerunners for it, Lord. Use us here as that footstool for the generations to come, God. We willingly lay ourselves down here today to be a part of building up that next generation and the generations to come from there, Lord. Show us what it looks like to be a foundation and to be a rock, just as you are our rock in our lives, God. Don't let us get too caught up in the things that don't matter in this process, and just show us what works, Jesus. I thank you that you've never left the room, you never left our hearts, and you never will. You're right here with us, guiding us, and I'm just so thankful for it. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, guys. So I want to start off first. Is this too loud if I'm right up here? Is this just right about here? This is just right? Okay, cool. So first thing I want to do is just start having a conversation with you guys on who you are, right? As we start to look at building generational health, a big piece on this is just simply knowing your identity in Christ. Knowing what that looks like. If we look at all those different blue zones, as we look at places where people are living a lot longer, one of the most consistent things is they have a very strong faith-centered community there. And when you have a strong faith, you begin to understand a little bit more about who you are. But I think it's kind of easy, especially in the Christian culture, to kind of get just caught up in other people. Always serving, always, being there for the kids, always being there for the husbands, for the wives, always being there for everybody else. And so sometimes it's kind of hard to put the mirror back on yourself and take a look at who am I and what do I really stand for. And so the first thing I want to have a conversation with you guys on today is, who are we? And why does it even matter on what we're doing here? And so when we go back into Genesis, we can really take a picture at this, right? When God is creating humanity, he's having a conversation here within the Trinity of, hey, I want to make you guys, or I want to make humanity to be something that is made in our image, right? I want to make humanity into something that bears the likeness of God in every single room that they enter into, right? And so with that, the very first thing that we have to recognize about ourselves is that we are made in the image of the greatest creator of all time. I was talking about this on Thursday night this week, that it's kind of a crazy idea to think about, but you right now are the greatest technology ever created of all time by the greatest creator of all time. The human body itself is something that science is still trying to catch up to each and every single day, right? What God made when he made you is still performing miracles every single day. It can't quite be caught up to with what science is doing just yet. Computers, AI, everything is trying to just simply catch up to what the human experience actually is and what God made when he made the greatest creation of all time, which is you and I, right? We are made in his image. And when he created us back in Genesis, in the first chapter, he's talking about, hey, now that you're here, I want you to go and take dominion over every living thing on earth, right? Over all the animals, over all the plants, over all of creation. I want you to have dominion. And so when we take a step back on this, it's kind of easy to just, okay, we've heard this a million times, right? But let's really root into that for a second. The very first thing being, when you look in the mirror, you're not looking at a mistake, you're not looking at a failure, you're not looking at somebody who's imperfect, you're looking at somebody who was made in the perfect image of a perfect God. And each and every single one of you reflects a specific aspect of him. And at times, right, you might reflect every single aspect of him. That's the beautiful part of our relationship with him. But within that, you were made in his image. He said, hey, I see you, and I want this part of me to be shown. Right? When people see you, I want them to see this part of my nature when you walk in the room. 1 John 4:17, as he, Christ Jesus, is on this earth, so are you. Right? So every room you walk into, you are a reflection of God. Then we get into that second piece on, hey, you were made for dominion. You were made to have control over every living thing that moves and breathes on this earth. And so with that, your body is a part of that, right? You are one of those things that moves and creeps on this earth. So you were made to have control over your body. How many of you guys have been in a situation where you felt like you didn't have control over your body? Anybody there? Yeah, okay. To where it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, you've had a long day, Whataburger's right there, you got Little Caesars right over here, you got McDonald's, they got that buy one, get two, right now. It's pretty tempting, I'm not going to lie. We got our super coffee, our slices of cakes, and our juices here, but I'd be lying to you if I said that that's what, even us as health coaches have every single day, right? It's very easy to, come back home, it feels like the whole world's against you, and hey, well, at least the one thing that's been here for me, Little Caesars Pizza, right? Never disappointing, always hot and ready, whatever it might be for you guys. You guys in the Thursday night classes know that was a thing for me that I had to walk through on it. But it's kind of easy to forget that we're actually in control of at least what we put in our body and what we do with our body, right? Let's say first and foremost, God's in control of everything. you got a little bit of real estate, though, that you got some wiggle room on some things that you can do, right? And what we put into our mouths, what we consume with our eyes and our ears, you do have control over, however. You've got dominion over this body and what you do with it. And so it's that same conversation on, man, it's been a long week, got into an argument with the husband, or my kid ain't acting right, or that invoice didn't go through like we were wanting to, or maybe you're like me and on your first date with your wife, your card got declined, and so you had to ask her to pay for lunch. There's so many different things, and it's really, really easy to forget just the authority that you actually walk with here on earth. And it's really easy to forget that we're seated with Christ in heavenly places, and it's easy to just say, well, okay, yeah, what's for dinner? And just to go into the familiar place of forgetting who you are. And so, through all of this, I want to remind you guys that you were made for greatness, you were made for authority, you were made to do greater things, right, as Jesus said here. So, with that, your identity is made in his image. You were designed for dominion. You were designed to do great things on this earth, and you're designed to be God's reflection in every single room that you walk into. That kind of changes how we do things, right? You don't really walk around small with that, and then you start to think of, okay, well, that's really great. That's over back in Genesis. It's kind of in the beginning. But what about, what did Jesus talk about when he was here? What did he say was really important? And one of my favorite scriptures from Jesus is when he's doing the Sermon on the Mount, and he's saying, hey, why don't we seek first the kingdom? I think that's going to be a really good idea, right? Seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all of these things you're looking for will come to be. I also love what he says right after that, which is, so don't worry about tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's going to worry about itself. If you just focus on the kingdom, his authority, his righteousness, all these things will come to be. And when it comes to the kingdom and seeking that first, it works really, really well in tandem with our identity. Because when we think about the kingdom, right, what that is it's God's heart and his authority showed up here on earth, right? It's his heart, his love, and his authority, his power showing up here on earth, right? The kingdom is something that we get to be a part of. It's something that we're acting within, and it's also an entirely different governmental reality that we operate within, right? The normal laws of physics do not apply inside of the kingdom because you are in an entirely different realm when you're in the kingdom. Right? The things that happen here on earth don't matter the same way when you are in the kingdom. Why am I saying that? Because you are quite literally a citizen of another country when you are a kingdom citizen. There's different bylaws, there's different parts of your citizenship. Every single thing is different than if you were just someone of the earth, someone who's an American citizen, someone who's a citizen of another country. You have different rights as someone here as a member of the kingdom. What are some of those rights? Let's go back again. You're made in the image. You were made for dominion. You were made for authority, right? So not only do you have this authority, you have this strength, God's calling you into it. In fact, Jesus wants you to be his reflection in every single room that you walk into, but you've also got all of the government of heaven now backing you. So when you have all of the government of heaven backing you, well, what does that mean? Well, what do governments have? Governments have funding. Has anyone ever felt like you didn't have enough money to eat healthy? Right? Anyone ever felt like, hey, $4 at McDonald's is way better than $25 at Whole Foods? Or $6 at Little Caesars is way better than a $300 grocery bill or $400 grocery bill. But when we start to take a look at this and we say, okay, I'm a kingdom citizen made in the image. My father is the king. Oh yeah, he's got all the resources. So why am I acting like I don't have the resources to be able to do what I need to do right here? If your father is the king, you don't have to worry about time. You don't have to worry about money. You don't have to worry about resources. You don't have to worry about much at all. In fact, your job is just to show up and be his reflection in those rooms you go into. So you are resourced. You are powerful. You are loved by God. You are God's reflection here on earth. And yet sometimes you find yourself at Little Caesars at 9:15 p.m. right before they close, and you're wondering what the heck is going on here, right? I thought I was better than that, right? So there's a really cool piece that comes into a lot of this, which is, you walk with all this authority, and then there's the human volatility that comes with it. And that human volatility is beautiful, right? Because that's where you really get to show up. That's where you get to show up and prove to yourself. It's the same way during this walk this morning. You guys could have stopped at one lap. You had a free choice. You could have just been done after one lap and said, I did my 1.6 miles, I'm going to be done on this. Or, I signed up for the 1 mile and I did my half mile, so I'm going to be done. But you chose to keep going. And so today a big conversation on this is, what are you going towards when it comes to the generational health in your family? Because just like the walk this morning, you're going to remember who you are, you're going to have all these great things that God's been telling you, but what are you holding on to when things get hard, right? Is it an image of, your grandkids being happy and healthy, or your children taking over your legacy? Well, what happens when your grandkids, get you a little too upset, or your kids don't listen to you, and, then that's what you've been leaning on this whole time to build a legacy within your family. It can kind of fall away. So we have to go deeper on this, and we really have to get into partnership with God on what that vision looks like. Because at the end of the day, you can't control anybody else. You can't control your spouse. You can't control your kids. You can't control your grandkids. But what you can do is you can control how you show up here today. So you got that authority that you can walk with. You were made in his image. You're a citizen of the kingdom with all the resources that you need, all of the backing that you need, all of the support that you need. So now, let's actually start to have a conversation on health. When you guys think of health, what do you think of? I'll take some volunteers here.
I'm just going to say feeling good.
Feeling good? Okay, that's one of them. What else? Having energy. We like that. When you think of health, what do you think of, or how would you define it? Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Come on. Love that. Yeah. Absolutely. Go ahead. Fitness, endurance, and discipline. Yeah, I like that. I like that. We had a hand over here. What's that? Fitness, endurance, and discipline? Nicole, did you have something? I saw a hand somewhere over here. Yeah, so good. Wholeness. I like that. I like that. Quality of life. Yeah, all great, great things. Great, great things. And I think it's included inside of that. So I like what you said, Larry. I think you've been studying my notes a little bit, right? Or maybe you attended a couple classes. When we go into the Old Testament, we look at, what word for health comes up when these people are talking about it. We start to see this word show up that I used to think was just kind of like a greetings for a lot of people, or a way for people to say hello. And in fact, in the Old Testament, when they're talking about, are you in health, are you in full health, they would use the word shalom, right? They would use this word shalom, which, I just thought it was a way, not to be mean, but like Jewish people would kind of greet each other. And, you watch The Chosen a couple times, and so, it's just how they say hello. But in fact, it's a much more beautiful word, and it goes a lot deeper. When you look at the word shalom, what it actually means is it has multiple different meanings, but it means, number one, completeness, wholeness, and lacking nothing. So how would it feel in your health or in your life if you were lacking nothing? Your generations to come lacked nothing. Your children had everything that they needed. Your home had everything that it needed. And you were complete. You weren't incomplete, you know? So completeness, wholeness, lacking nothing. Such a beautiful, beautiful phrasing for it. There's more words on it, but when we look at that word shalom, it essentially means like, hey, it's done and it's good. That's what health is. It's done and it's good, right? You are done and you are good. You know, one of the things I wanted to talk about here today was a little bit more on this this piece. Let me just pull up a note here so I can remember what it was. But I feel like a lot of times in our health journeys, we kind of play more of the preventative route versus just saying, hey, it's good and it's done, right? We're kind of worried. How many of you guys have had a family member maybe die of a heart attack in their 50s or 40s or 60s, way, way too early, right? Much, much too early. How many of you guys have had someone die to cancer way too early? We got hands going up all around the room on that one. And one of the worst things I think that can happen to us as believers is letting your health journey be something fueled by fear. You know, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is you see what happened to your relatives, and you start this journey from a place of anxiety, stress, and fear of, I can't be like that, right? It's different when you make a declaration and you say, I will not be like that. But when every single action that you take, the foods that you do or don't pick up, you say, I can't do, no, that's not for me, right? There's a little bit of fear in that, right? It's not wanting that to happen to yourself. You know, and so rather than, you know, we're always kind of in this preventative place, I really think the Lord's trying to bring us more into a restorative place, right? To restore us back into that understanding that your body is complete, your body is whole, and your body's lacking nothing. I love what I do, but I didn't really see Adam doing jumping jacks in the garden. You know, I didn't really see Jesus have a deadlift routine, and I didn't see Eve, you know, doing the latest diet that she saw on Instagram. You know, they were whole, they were complete, and they lacked nothing, right? As much as I would love if Jesus would come out with a workout routine or a diet, he didn't. And so, but he did give some great advice, right? In Matthew, he said, hey, don't worry about what you eat, what you drink, what you wear. Is life not more than that, right? If he cares about the birds, he cares about you. And so, you guys love Jesus, right, in this room? Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm not the only one? All right, great. And so if the guy that we base our whole life on said, don't worry about what you eat or what you drink, just take a moment to think about that. He said, stop worrying about what you eat and what you drink or what you'll wear. Is life not more than this? Did anybody here worry about what they were going to eat today? Nobody did? You guys are better than me. I was out here thinking, all right, what am I going to have before this race? I got to make sure I have the right amount of carbs. If I over-caffeinate, that won't be good. If I have too many bottles of water, I'm going to have to pee in the middle of me talking. You guys are way better than me. I was worrying today. Oh, I'm thinking about, did I get a bowel movement before the race? I'm not following my own advice at all on this or Jesus' advice on this. But the man who created all things said, don't worry about what you eat or what you drink. But people said carbs are bad. You know, people said meat is bad. People said fats are bad. You know, you might as well just become a breatharian. Those are the people who don't do anything but just breathe, you know. Can't have anything these days, right? Yeah, every air's bad too now, you know? You got to get a filter for the air. Can't trust your water. Can't trust your fruit. You don't know if it's organic or not. Man, I'm just going to, just hold it the whole time. But what did he say? What did he say? Don't worry about it, right? And so, we could have this whole conversation on generational health here in this class, and I could tell you guys, hey, I really like Desmond, but nobody go get cake slices today because he's of the devil, right? He brought in the sugar, so we're just gonna ignore him. You got the gluten. No, go have yourself a slice of cake and say another one, please, right? You know, go on over and enjoy these things. You know, a great example I like to give a lot of times is, let's say you had a little girl or a little niece or nephew or grandkid comes up to you and offers you a little cookie, you know, and they got that big old smile on their face. They saved this one just for you. They could have eaten it, shoved it in their face, and had the crumbs all over their shirt, but they said, I want you to share this, right? Are you so high and mighty and on a diet that you're going to say no to a cookie from a little kid? You know? I don't know, maybe. But in that moment, right, what's more important? Joy or standing on a high horse and saying, sorry, child, that's a sin. I can't have that cookie, you know? But instead, what if you just had a relationship with people and didn't stress about it so much? You know what I mean? What if you just had a relationship with people and you went to Thanksgiving, you went to Christmas, you went to the Easter potluck, and you said, well, Mama fried everything in canola oil. Even the greens are fried. There's about 2 grams of sodium on every fork bite of food that I have here today. And there's no fruits, no vegetables. Everything is kind of this like just color of brown and yellow and cheese and gravy and, but you grew up with it and you're okay. You know? You didn't worry about health back then. And so this isn't a conversation just to have on, hey, go overboard, go and have a little bit of everything, but it is just a little bit on how much are you going to your diet, going to your exercise routine to try to complete you, make you whole, or get you to a place of lacking nothing. When in reality, that's how God made you from the very beginning. And so rather than trying to chase health, instead, if we want to build generational health, we have to start to have a conversation less on health is here and I'm trying to get to it, and more of remembering, hey, I'm seated with Christ in heavenly places, so why don't I, just like in Hebrews, take a seat in the seat of rest? And remember actually that, hey, health is right here, and this is where I'm going to make decisions from. If I'm seated with him in heavenly places, that means that he's my counselor. I can ask him questions, and rather than trying to be so hurried that I'm making decisions on the go or living in the future when I need to be living in the present moment, what if I actually just paused and moved at the speed of rest in my health? You know, what if you moved at the speed of shalom? What if you moved at the pace of grace? What if you moved at the rhythm of the kingdom? Instead of trying to follow this next influencer or do what Patrick's doing, do what Sammy's doing. Hey, momentum is great. Accountability is great. I love, you know, when I get jacked up on something, I get jacked up on something, right? Like I like to bring people in, rope people into things when I'm doing new things. I love it, right? Eric's trained with me in the gym. If I did squats today, 90% of my clients are probably going to do squats today. It's just kind of how it works, right? Like I like to bring people in. But there's a difference between chasing, comparing, jealousy, versus, hey, is this really what God called me to do, right? And so when we look at these different blue zones in areas of the world that are prospering right now, where people are living to be 100 and plus, they don't really have, you ask them what their diet is, and they say, hey, it's the same thing I've eaten my whole life. You know, they don't really stress too much about it. In Greece, over in their blue zone, 98% of the men smoke cigarettes and consume nicotine on a daily basis. In 4 out of 5 blue zones, the majority of people are having 1 to 2 alcoholic beverages a day. Sake, red wine. I'm not telling you guys to go drink alcohol, but I'm saying here's an example of longevity that goes completely against everything that we've ever learned. But what are they doing? Man, he's going to, you know, they might have a little tobacco around a group of guys, and they're actually kicking back and connecting, relaxing and opening up as men rather than holding those emotions back and trying to just tough their way through the week. You know, that one glass of red wine might be with your mother, and you're actually having dinner with her instead of avoiding her for 6 months out the year, and you only get together for Easter and Christmas. You know, it's actually something that comes together and helps to be an ingredient of rest rather than being an obstruction to your health, right? They did a study at one point. Dr. Caroline Leaf was here for a conference back in like 2019 that I came to. And she's a really great person in the health space. She's a believer. She's got a bunch of books. But she shared a conversation on how at one point in time they ran a test, and I've shared this a little bit in the Thursday night classes, but they had two different examples. They had one group that had a burger that they ate, and they had another group that had a salad that they ate. However, within each of those groups, for the burger group, they split them in half, and they told one of the groups, hey, this is a superfood burger. Every ingredient in this is organic, raised without hormones, and it's actually going to make you feel a lot better. The other group, they basically told, hey, this is the equivalent of a McDonald's burger. Don't expect much, right? Like, it might hurt your stomach. It's not the best ingredients. Then they actually did the same exact thing with the salad group. They said, hey, this is the best salad you're ever going to have. Everything's homegrown, natural, organic. It's superfoods. You're going to feel a lot better. They had another group with the salad where they're like, hey, I don't know where we got this lettuce. Like, I think we might have gotten it out of the dumpster. Don't expect much from it. And what they actually found was both groups, both the burger and the salad, when told ahead of time that the experience was going to be terrible for their health, they scanned the body afterwards. The nutrition wasn't being absorbed from it. The people were experiencing digestive issues. They just weren't absorbing everything possible out of what they were eating, both the salad and the burger. Now, what happened was in the groups that was told that, hey, what you're eating right here is a superfood, what happened was the salad digested beautifully, went down perfectly, 0 to no stomach distress. And the group that had the burger had the exact same experience. With all the gluten in it, all the dairy in it, all the red meat inside of it, the oils, the fats, the sodium, when they were told ahead of time that they were going to feel better from it, their body performed really well afterwards still. It's kind of astounding, right? Because we've been taught that a calorie is a calorie, right? And every single thing you eat is every single thing you eat. But a conversation I want to have with you guys right now is, are you setting an intention on your food, or is your food setting an intention on you? Are you telling your food what it's going to do in your body, or are you letting it tell you what it's going to do? One of the most powerful things that you guys can do is whenever you put anything in your mouth, anything, I'm talking about water, I'm talking about juice, I'm talking about food, I'm talking about salads, burgers, anything, set an intention over it. Tell that, if you really have dominion on this earth, why don't you tell that cookie, say, hey, you're going to go and you're going to fuel some exercise that I'm going to have later today or tomorrow. And you're going to go into my glycogen storages, you're going to get yourself ready, and we're going to have a great workout tomorrow, and I'm going to burn you all up, and you will not turn into body fat. You're going to go in there and get any loose bodies that haven't been moved. You're going to go in there and take out anything that's stuck, and you're going to remove it. And you're going to be a digestive aid for me. Why don't you tell that apple juice, hey, you're going to fuel my brain right here. You're going to allow me to think better. You're going to allow me to focus better. You're going to allow me to show up more present. Why don't you tell your water, hey, you're going to heal my knee. I'm going to tell you right now that in the name of the King, tell the body, make way. As you pass through my body, the healing power of Jesus is going to touch every single part that you touch. If Jesus' power could leap from the hem of his cloth, right? Why can't it do the same from you if you were said to do greater things than he? He's not holding back anything, right? He wants you to walk with this authority on earth. It's not a conversation of, are you good enough for it? It's he's waiting for you to recognize who you are. Your Father is the King. You are the queens and the kings here on earth. Right? We're all going to throw our crowns at him one day. But for right now, you're still wearing it, and he wants you to act like it. You know? Does that make sense? Okay, cool. We can kind of get caught up so much in, like, what are we eating? Like, should I change everything I prepare at the home? Yeah, definitely. I would say, Eat some healthy food. You know, April, I love what Larry's always saying. Like, you're cleaning up the diet, like, basically every week. You guys are making, like, little changes that are getting better and better and better. Larry talks so well about how April helps support him in his health goals. I think that's great. That's what we should do. Sammy's recently gotten into cooking like crazy. This woman's making spaghetti. She made some banana bread the other day. What else have you made this past week? Oh, chicken quinoa. Oh, that was wonderful too. It had like tomatoes and spinach on it. I think that's great. I'm not here to tell you don't do that. But what I am here to tell you is don't worry about tomorrow, right? Don't worry about what you eat. Don't worry about what you drink. Is life not more than this, right? Your life is bigger than what you put inside of your mouth, but remember, you do have control over every single thing that you put in your mouth, right? Okay. Made in the image, made to have authority. You're a citizen of the kingdom, backed by the king, all the resources, all the power. Every area you step into, you are a reflection of him. Now, when we get into that next piece on health, it's shalom, it's completeness, it's fullness, it's lacking nothing. How do we actually implement that? I want to have a conversation with you guys on that it's not going to look like a lot of what we've been taught before. In fact, a lot of what it looks like to move at the speed of shalom or move in health, it's going to look like rest. It's probably the number one thing that we as the body of Christ do the worst, is rest. Resting, an example of it would be, you've got a seed and you put it in the ground. What's that seed going to do? Germinate? Anything else? What do seeds do? Die? Okay. Sprout? Okay. There's a lot of things that it could do, right? It could grow, it could die, it could germinate, it could do a bunch of different things. But is it going to help it do any of that if you say, well, I already put it down there. Maybe I just need to dig around a little bit more. Maybe I just need to move it over here and do that, right? Or maybe I need to go in there and put it in another pot, put it somewhere else. You just got to get your hands in it over and over and over again, thinking that that's going to help it grow. Does that actually help it grow for any of the gardeners in here? No, the things that grow the best, you usually just throw it in there and say, God will do it. All right, on to the next one. You know, yeah, you got to water a little bit. Yeah, you got to put some fertilizer on there, a little bit of compost on it. But God brings the sunshine. God will make it rain when it's supposed to rain. You know, you actually don't have to get your hands in the dirt at all. In your health journey, it's so easy to get a to-do list of 12, 15 different things that you have to do every single day. I'm going to be honest with you. You probably need to cut that list down to like 30% of it. We've got maybe 3 to 5 things that we need to do every day. That's it. God does the rest. You know what I mean? Like, I joke because I'm a very simple guy. It's like, all I have to do every day is very simple. I got a daily to-do list. One of them is to hug my wife and tell her that I love her. Another one is to go for a prayer walk, right? Another one is to, pay bills, check the finances, like just basically make sure that money's moving the way that it needs to move for the family. We run a business, so send out invoices, collect invoices, just make sure that we're not avoiding the bank accounts. And there's a couple other things in there, but if I just had to simplify it from there, it's go for a prayer walk each day, hug your wife and tell her that you love her, and make sure your business gets handled. Everything else is pretty simple. It's not eat 3 square meals every single day that have to look exactly like this. It's not intermittent fast till 1 o'clock every single day. It's not, skip dinner. It's not do this, do that. It's just show up for whatever God's trying to call you into. And I would encourage you guys, because I'm not perfect. I'm not anything more than you guys are, right? And with that, it's the same way for you guys. When we move at the speed of rest, you start to realize in your health journey, it's a lot simpler than you really do think it is. God's going to have just a couple core things that he wants you to focus on. And I guarantee the best thing that you could do for your health right now is to have that conversation that you've been avoiding for weeks. Could be with a specific person, could be with God, could be with yourself. the best thing you could do is release whatever is holding you down right now. The stress, the worry, the anxiety, the frustration. Just let it go. And everything else will start to work out, right? When you actually release that need to appear perfect, that need to be a perfectionist, that need to look better than others, that need to not be embarrassed, that need to not be fully seen, whatever it might be. For me, it's usually I just don't want to look like a fool, right? I don't want to look like I didn't prepare, or I didn't, I forgot about this, so I'll hold something back, and it doesn't usually work out. But when you just release whatever it is, that's going to help you out so much more. You know, the leading cause of disease in this world is stress. You know, that's the number one thing that kills people, is people stressing out and worrying about things that they have no business worrying about. You know, it's funny. We went on a trip a while ago, and this is a little bit back. And when we went on this trip, we didn't actually have the money for the flights until like the day of, which is really not a smart strategy if you guys ever fly, because on the day of, the flights are, you know, way more expensive, right? And I just remember, you know, that night before actually flying out for the trip, I was just like about to have a panic attack, right? And I was like, man, what are we gonna do? How is this gonna work out? Like we've planned this. I don't want to disappoint my wife, and it's just not working. I actually went and I looked at the tickets, and they were, you know, almost double what I thought they were gonna be. And so I'm over here thinking, I'm like, oh man, like, you know, we had an invoice that was supposed to come in that day. It didn't come in that day, and I'm just stressing. I look at my wife and say, hey, I gotta go to bed. Like, there's nothing I can do in this moment. Otherwise, I'm just gonna scream, freak out, and like rip my hair out right now, or like try to find a solution that isn't gonna work. And so I go to bed that night, and I wake up the next day. Lo and behold, an invoice has been paid. It's hit our bank account, and somehow, some way, the tickets were half the price they were the day before. That's God, right? In that moment, and again, I'm not perfect. I'm not any better than you guys are, so I'm just giving an example here. The worst thing I could have done was try to stay up all night looking for my own solution, right? Looking at how can I do this? But in reality, it's like Jesus in the middle of the storm. What did he do in the storm? He took a nap. He slept. He rested in the storm. He said, this thing don't bother me. I know a solution's going to come, and it'll come after I sleep. And man, that thing could have killed me. You know, I could have had a heart attack that night, right? With how like fast my heart was beating on it, I had no control over any of that. And that's one of the scariest things for us to admit in our health, is that we don't have a control over a lot of the things that we think we do. And my wife, Sammy, if she's still going to talk about what she told me she's going to talk about, she's going to have a conversation on the things that you do have control over. So she's going to play bad cop, and I'm over here playing good cop. No, she's going to have a great conversation on that. But we got to stop worrying. We got to be more present. We got to play a little bit more restorative when it comes to our health, and just remember that you can't control a lot of the things, you know. So remembering who you were made in his identity. You were made for dominion. You were made as a citizen of the kingdom, which means you are backed by every single resource of heaven. If we really want health, we should look at this word shalom, which means completeness, wholeness, and lacking nothing. That sounds a lot like rest, and that sounds a lot like we don't actually have to do much. So now what does it look like to actually take that into something a little bit more practical, right? What does it look like to, okay, take this but not overwork, but also not, you know, play that game where I don't do what I'm supposed to do, because it is a fine line, right? One of the things I want to share with you is just a couple common themes that you'll actually find within these blue zones all around the world, that is just common trends that they do that we don't always do ourselves. So with that, the very first thing that they do is they move naturally, right? What's really cool here about Cedar Hill and even the surrounding area too is that when you look at blue zones around the world, almost every single one of them has a hilly terrain. And that's why I love this vision for South Dallas specifically, because we're one of the hilliest areas in the DFW Metroplex, right? So with that, they have a naturally hilly complexion on the geography. And why is that important? Well, it's important because it's a little bit harder to walk up these steps than it is to just walk on flat ground, right? Just a little bit more of a degree of a challenge to move up and down through the hills than it is to walk on just flat ground like that. So just natural movement, the way that God created it, does a ton for them. They really don't have gyms in most of these places. They're not really out there wondering who can squat the most or who can overhead press the most or who can, run the fastest mile. They're out here just moving their bodies naturally. They're gardening. They are they're gardening, they're doing chores, they're walking. Instead of these structured exercise routines, they're just using their body every single day. And I think that's something that we kind of forget, is just that simple ability to listen into our body and say, what type of movement does my body need today? I'll be honest, most days, I really enjoy lifting weights. That's just me. But that's not going to mean it's the same thing for you. I have this picture, Yolanda, you rode your bike one day to the class, and I was just like, that's so cool. I love that you just rode your bicycle over to class, right? For some of you guys, it might be riding your bike. For Larry, he's been going for a 7 a.m. walk this whole week, and he's been saying he's been feeling amazing. I think I'm biased towards a prayer walk. I think that's a really simple way for a lot of people to move their body, but it's just finding what actually works for you. I had a woman who worked in a health coaching program with Sammy and I. It was a couple's health coaching program, and how she got in her steps and her movement every day was she just played music and cleaned the house and danced. While she was cleaning, she was dancing. And she would get 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day when she would do that. And what did that do? It also kept a clean home. And when you have a clean home, man, it's kind of easy to do everything a little bit better, right? When your home's dirty, you're worried about if people are, running their finger along the edges, saying, hey, it's a little dusty right here, You're thinking people are looking in your drawers in the cabinet saying, why haven't you cleaned in here, right? No one cares, but, it's how we feel. You don't want them to open up that closet because everything's going to fall out if they do, right? So, but when you have a clean home, everything feels better. So they just move naturally whenever they do move. There's not necessarily a lot of structure, so I would encourage you guys not to get so stuck in the trying to structure everything perfectly within a movement routine. What works really well is just to move. This other one I really love, and this is actually more so a Japanese saying, but it's something called Haru Hashi Bun. Has anyone ever heard that before? Essentially what it means is to eat to 80% full. Very, very simple thing that we often overlook. I don't know about you guys, I took pride as a kid of eating till this belly was big, right? I remember when my nephew was 12 years old, he would always try to compete with me in eating. If he saw me as a grown man eat something, he would try to eat that as a 12-year-old. And he'd be over there just sweating. He'd be over there like, just not feeling good. Or different sized people, right? But he would try to compete with me. There's something, maybe it's not the same with you guys, but even when you grow up too, it's, hey, eat the whole plate. You don't want to waste anything. You don't want anything to, we paid for that. That's good food. I'm still fighting that one myself from time to time. But one of the best things that you can do is stop at about 80% full. You don't have to be bloated by the end of every meal. And that's one of the keys to being able to eat not whatever you want, but to be able to be a little bit more in that place to where, oh, I'm not worried if I had that cookie. Or, oh, I'm not worried about this as much because I never eat in excess, Jesus' first miracle was to turn water into wine, but he was never a drunkard. He exampled moderation. He had bread, he had fish, he had wine. That breaks almost the 3 cardinal sins of so many diets out there, right? Gluten, meat, and alcohol, and he enjoyed a little bit of everything right there. So within that, we can see, hey, what does it look like to not eat always into fullness? We had a conversation on this the other night in the Thursday night class on usually if you hear that voice that says just one more, that's actually the moment you need to stop, right? When it's like, hey, just one more biscuit. Hey, just one more cookie. Or just one more sip, or just one more shot, just one more drink. that's when actually the, stop sign's starting to come up. Because just that one more puts you at 100%. You don't need to be 100%, right? You can live on 80. You can live on 80. And in a way, I've never really talked about this before, but it's just coming up now. It's kind of like you're tithing your appetite a little bit too. You're saying, hey, that last little bit, I'm going to leave space for God in my just energy systems. Because it takes energy to digest food. I don't know about you guys, but when you're in a food coma, I'm not usually thinking about the word. I'm not thinking about what would Jesus do. I'm thinking about get out my way because I'm trying to get to the bed. I'm trying to get to the couch. I'm trying to get to maybe some TV or something. It definitely disrupts my focus on what does God want me to do in this moment. So when you eat that 80% full, you're kind of just tithing your appetite in a way and saying, hey, even though this is delicious, I don't need to break my body for it. It's kind of like running to, 0% on your gas tank. It doesn't do your car good. You can fill up at a quarter. You can fill up at a half. It doesn't do you good to run it all the way down. It's the same way with our bodies in that way. A couple more here too is they just eat a real food diet. Looking at the ingredients on the things that they eat, it's just whole foods. They don't mind if they have bread because they know the 3 ingredients that go in it. They don't mind if they have fish because they saw where it was caught. They don't mind if they have some red meat because they know the guy who raised that cow. They don't mind if they have dairy because their grandmother made it. You know what I mean? They just eat real food. And I think that's something we can kind of get caught up in a lot is which diet do I need to be a part of? Which macronutrient do I need to cut out? Who am I going to stop hanging out with because they don't eat like me? Or who can I get in an argument with because they have a different diet than I do? And that's not what we need to do. We just got to focus on, hey, let's just eat whatever God made, right? And then when in doubt, just think back to the garden, right? If the ingredients were there in the garden, you can kind of bet it probably would be something that you should eat now. Another one too, and this one just kind of goes into, again, that moderation conversation. They've got these things to where 98% of the guys would smoke cigarettes. A lot of the people would, have 1 to 2 glasses of alcohol there. They might have these things that, their cookies, their sugar, their alcohol, their caffeine, their nicotine, whatever it might be, but none of it ever takes control over them, right? I love what it says in Scripture to where it's talking about, hey, as a man of God, you should never be a drunkard, right? You should never actually be drunk in these things. How many of you guys know it's pretty easy to get drunk on 10 slices of pizza, right? You're not yourself after 10 slices of pizza. You're showing up as a shadow of who you are, who's slower, greasier, and probably going to have one more pimple the next day than they had today. You know what I mean? You're not who you are supposed to be in that moment. It's very easy to get drunk on anything, right? How many of you guys have been in the place to where you had 4 or 5 cups of coffee that day and you were just, you're vibrating with anxiety, anybody could say anything and you would jump out the wall, right? These things that, are kind of more common, you can overdose on that. You can go too far on these things. So one really important piece there is they just operate in that moderation mentality, right? It's not going to be that 1 glass of wine that you enjoy at the end of the day that actually helps you to de-stress on a date night with your spouse or connect in that destroys you. But if you do have a problem there, you got to own that you have a problem there and maybe cut that thing out too, right? There is a whole conversation on fasting, and you have to have an understanding of what is currently right now distracting me from my destiny that God's calling me into and what needs to be gone completely. That's a whole nother conversation on it. So there are things that do need to be gone from certain individuals' lives, but I'm not here to tell you what that is. That's you going to Holy Spirit and figuring out what that is. But having that moderation ability and having that ability to cut things out completely. One of the blue zones is Loma Alto over in California, and it's a Seventh-day Adventist community. And so they eat an entirely plant-based diet, and they do no alcohol, no caffeine. What have they done? They have a list of things that they've said no to. We're not going to let that come in and steal our destiny, right? We're not going to let that come in and pollute our mind. Whether you agree with that lifestyle or you follow that, we can definitely learn a lot on what they said there. They said, I'm going to build boundaries around the things that we believe are going to slow us down or not, connect us deeper with what the Father's doing inside of our lives, and so we're going to leave it away. So the ability to fast and the ability to practice moderation is a very, very key piece on this one. Another one being just belonging to a faith-based community. Guys, if you're not plugged in somewhere, get plugged in somewhere, man. You know, it's so much easier to do life with other people. I love our Thursday night classes, right? I love Sunday church. You know, I love coming to a nice prayer night on a Wednesday and just decompressing in the back over there and having a good time, right? It's fun. You know, when you have that faith, man, how many of you guys have like close friends who don't have like a faith like kind of background in their life, or like not a really good relationship with Jesus? Okay, Yolanda's the only one. Everybody else only hangs out with Christians here. Okay, thank you. One of the things that I noticed in a lot of my friends who don't yet have a relationship with Jesus, they're pre-believers, and man, they're really stressed. You know, like you look at them and they feel like they got to do it all. And it rips them apart. They can't sleep at night because of it. And there's something about having a community that consistently reminds you that, hey, you don't have to do it all. God's working and working and working. He's not against you. So getting plugged into a faith-based community is a very, very big piece on building that blue zone. Next one is to put that family first, guys. As much as it kind of might pain you to go have dinner with those relatives, or, you don't want that extra work at the end of the day. It's funny, I'll joke right now. My mom is staying the night at our house because she's flying out of, it's either DFW or Love Field, and we live over, just south of Highland Park in Dallas. And so we're right by Love Field. And she texted me, and she's like, so we can do dinner on Saturday. And I'm like, hey, Mom, just full transparency. I don't know how we're going to be. Sam and I are putting on this 5K. Like, we've got a conference afterwards. Like, I don't really know where our energy is going to be at the end of the day. And so I don't want to commit to anything like that. We'd love to see you. But I just can't, like, say, hey, we'll actually be dinner ready by the end of Saturday. And you know what my mom's response was, well, you got to eat. You got to eat. And it was such a beautiful reminder. Just go have dinner with your mom, dude. Like, go spend some time with your family. It's not that big of a deal. It's very easy for us to view our family as the last place that we want to go sometimes. It's very easy to say, man, I would rather, go to whatever other escape is available right now. I don't want to go do that. I don't want to spend time with my friends. Are there any introverts in the room right now? Okay, yeah, definitely. It's very easy to say, hey, I want to lock myself up in this room. I got a nice book. I got a nice show. I got whatever it is, and I don't want to spend time with nobody. But one of the things that will always, always benefit you is, man, just go seeing that family. You were born with them, and you're going to leave with them. They're the only people you got at the end of the day, right? Your close friends and family, those people you consider like blood, that's all you got at the end of the day. And so not running from them, and instead, I love what Isaiah talks about in Isaiah 58, where he's talking about fasting. And, if you come to our Thursday night classes, you'll see that we kind of expand that conversation on fasting. It's not just about what are you saying no to on food. It's actually like, hey, what are you saying no to of anything that's not serving who God's calling you to be? It could be, not hanging out with these certain people, not like following these people on social media, maybe not having social media at all, whatever it might be. God's telling you to say no to something and put the blindfolds on. And in Isaiah 58, one of the things that's written in there is, hey, when you fast in a righteous way, here's going to be one of the signs. And one of them in there is you're going to go spend time with your loved ones and your family. You're going to just go spend time with the people who refresh you the most. And it's one of the most beautiful experiences to be able to just let go of whatever's worrying you and just go spend time with some of the best people possible. So put that family first, have some tight friend circles as well. And then the last two on here are going to be able to just downshift and have a way that you rest. If you don't have a relationship with rest right now, I hope that's the first thing you go and look at after all of this. It might be, Larry and I have talked about how he enjoys playing the guitar. I enjoy something similar, and I would love to get back into it. Going for a prayer walk could be how you downshift. Sammy's recently gotten into, cooking and playing Frank Sinatra in the house, and that's how it helps her downshift. Getting home from work and scrolling for 2 hours is not downshifting. It's stimulating your brain while your body is trying to relax. And so you got two hamster wheels going in the opposite direction, and you're wondering why you're wired and tired at the same time, right? So learning how to actually rest, whatever that looks like for you, it could be music, it could be cooking, could be going for a walk, could be exercising, could be singing, could be whatever it is, you know. Sometimes it's worship, sometimes it's, you know, it could be anything, but have a real way to downshift. It could be fishing. And finally, you know, this is a big piece that we talk about in Kingdom Health. You know, we're here to heal bodies, get people stronger, so that way you can walk in purpose. So going back into that, you got to have something bigger that we're aiming for is really get connected with why does God have you here on earth? You know, each of you has a very unique purpose here on earth. And what are you called to be for that? Your diet's just meant to supplement that. Your workout routine's just meant to supplement that. It's not meant to become your identity. It's not meant to become your purpose. Your purpose is why God put you here. And the individual gifts, talents, and contributions that you bring into every single room that you walk into. And so when you get connected into that, you can't help but be healthy. And you can't help but to infect the other people around you with that same type of health. When you know who you are and you know why you're here and you know what you're here to do. So, in summary, quit stressing, quit worrying. God's got it, but you also got to show up. That's how you're going to be able to build some generational health within your families. Was this helpful for you guys? Yeah. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. We are going to take a quick break, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then Sammy is going to come on up and bring it on in. So if you got to use a bathroom break or go check out some of the vendors, get some juice, get some cake, get some coffee, go do your thing. We'll kick back off in just a few minutes, guys. I happen to believe she is the best speaker in the world. She is phenomenal. She is a Texas A&M graduate, master's degree in kinesiology. She is the founder of Active and Attractive, which is a health coaching company where she helps female leaders, entrepreneurs, mothers, really just learn how to put themselves in a place to where their body's not getting left behind in whatever it is that God is calling them into. So making sure that they are leading with a health-first perspective rather than, burning out and putting everybody else before them and never remembering how to take care of themselves. So she is also very cute too, so I do have a crush on her, and I might ask her on a date after this. We shall see. So everybody welcome my beautiful wife, Samantha Nicole McKinnon Bell.
Thanks for still liking me.
If you guys aren't plugged in for Thursday nights too, I highly recommend you scan that and register for one of our Thursday night classes. I know we got some faces here who haven't popped into a class before. I think you guys would really, really enjoy continuing with this and having some fun with this on Thursday. So I just want to invite you guys here to come join.
Yeah, and if you guys don't know what we're doing on Thursday, I know he said it a little bit earlier, but I don't think you guys understand, first of all, how long we've been here at Trinity, because we haven't understood how long we've been at Trinity. It's been 3 years, 4 years, is it 3 or 4? Sometimes when it's the 3rd year, he says we're going into our 4th year, so I don't actually know how much time. But we've been here for a while, and what's been really cool is how our community has pieced itself together. So many of you guys we have built one-on-one relationships with, one at a time, and we came in to visit a mentor of ours who was teaching, and that was the only reason we stopped by Trinity. After that, we never left. And it's just beautiful how quickly a community can be built, because one smile, one conversation, all of a sudden leads to a connection, and it leads to more memories. And then before you know it, you've got a friendship and that relationship. And the relationship you can't forget. And then when your relationships start making relationships with each other, now you have a web of people. And so Patrick and I will show up to church, and we can't take 2 steps before we see another piece of our family here. And that's really the basis of what our Thursday classes is about. And while we're together spending family time, we will talk about health, we'll talk about the kingdom, we'll talk about all kinds of things in regards to how to make yourself more in relationship with your body. Because your body was something you stepped into when you got here, right? And most of us, so you can tell me, did you ask to be here? Probably not, right? But what's beautiful about our situation and being here is that even though we didn't know that we were coming here, we all feel that call in our heart, that there's an assignment as to why we're here. And that purpose is something I love talking to people about, because it's purpose that keeps our eyes open every single morning. It wakes us up, and it reminds us what we're doing and why we need to keep doing it, even when times are hard. Now, the reason we talk about health is because health is what fuels your purpose. If you don't have health, it doesn't matter what your purpose is, because your purpose could be right here in your chest, but if you're sitting on the couch and you're binge watching that Netflix show and you feel God calling you to go out to the people, then what's the point of purpose, right? So it's a journey to be a person that walks in purpose. And as I was talking to the wonderful woman in the back, we've got so much going on. She was saying, I don't know why it is so hard to just do what I know I'm called to do. It's challenging. It's work. I keep coming into conflict. Things constantly get in my way. That's how you know you're on the right path, is when things are hard. I don't think that God made things hard. I think the nature of our world is hard. It's inherently difficult to do things that are uncomfortable. But it is also the nature of the world God's designed is for things to be difficult, because in difficulty, we change. If things are comfortable, everything you see, when it's lilacs and rainbows and sunshines, that is part of the kingdom. But the other part of the kingdom is that we're warriors. We're here to overcome. We're victorious. So if you're not encountering challenge, you can't change. You're seeing the same things that you already saw, and so where's your testimony in that? So this is part of health. Patrick did call me the bad cop for a reason, because I do love rainbows and sunshine and dresses and fun times. I do love all that. But as a personal trainer, one of my clients called me the evil Disney princess. And I was like, you know what? I'm not too mad about that, because the truth hurts. It could hurt. And if you really want to see change, we got to do some things that make you think outside of your current person. So I want to bring a conversation to you guys to emphasize what it is that we're talking about. We are here as citizens in the kingdom. We all have an individual mission in our heart for the collective same. Now, your work is to understand what your purpose is. And the first thing I want you to remember is that your purpose is worlds different than the person next to you. You've got to understand that first and foremost. Your purpose is worlds different than the person next to you. Now, what that means is you can't turn to your person and say, "Hey, what'd you put on your homework? How'd you answer that test question? What did you do?" Because a lot of times the path that someone else has walked is not going to look like your path. And in this work, that's the discouraging part. But in that same light, the beauty that your path is so different than everyone else's is that you get to forge a way that no one else has ever seen. You get to do something different that the world has never seen. And if our purpose here as kingdom citizens is to bring the kingdom down here on earth, we are supposed to do things that the world has never seen. Gracie, what does your dress say? And? She's like, I can't read my dress. Walk by faith and not by sight. Why? Because the things that we're supposed to walk out in faith are not here yet. The things you're supposed to do have not been done yet. The health journey you're supposed to go on hasn't been perfectly curated the way it will take care of you. So if that's the truth, why are you mad that so-and-so's workout plan is working for them and not for you? Here's the worst part. When you and your husband go on the same diet and he loses 20 pounds and you lose 2, it's not fair, right? But, okay, jokes aside. All right, guys, I wanna say a few things. Patrick and I's big mission right now, and this is something that found us. We did not choose to decide to hold this flag, but it really showed up for us beautifully. We talk a lot about identity in health. We are personal trainers at the core. That is our training, that is our skill set, that is what we felt called to do. And it's something we love to help people with, because the practical is you do squats, your knees get better. You lift weights, your bodies get stronger. You eat healthy foods, your body converts into a healthy creature, right? When you do the physical actions, physically, a lot can change. Now, what I found out, and I know Patrick experiences this all the time, how many of you guys are responsible in an industry where the actions are one thing, but you could tell it's the person that's doing the action that's actually the limitation? You might be an accountant and you could say, just fill out this paperwork. And they're not doing the paperwork for whatever reason, right? You can be a doctor and say, stop smoking. It'll save them. Themselves can't find that pivot to change. The difference between the people I've seen be successful in health is that I've noticed that I can give the same plan to 2 different people. And the reason that certain people see massive success and other people see minimal, if to no success at all, it came from the frame of who they saw themselves to be, their identity. So much of what we're trying to create is not about just what you're doing. It's who do you see yourself as? Do you feel worthy of the weight loss you're trying to receive? Do you feel available, like you're allowed to cure diabetes when your grandma had it and it took her leg? Do you feel like you're allowed to have a healthy heart when there's someone you know in your childhood that didn't get that same experience? There's so many thoughts and things that we think is human, and Patrick said it so well. What did you say, babe? Human volatility. We've got this nature that we experience where as humans, again, we know and we pray and we feel it, but there's something that keeps us from doing it. What I want to impart on you guys today is that it's you that's going to change the world. It's you. It's you. It's you and the God that's inside of you. It's your actions, it's your heart, it's your mindset that's going to transform everything we see around us. Your plan might look different than what we say or suggest to do, and that's okay. This is the permission I want to give to you. Your journey might take 12 years, or it might take the next person too. But in the 12 years, the things you encounter, the parts of you that you have to really negotiate with, the person that you have to become in that process, that's worth the testimony. So I want to ask you guys a question. The flag that Patrick and I found is this blue zone concept. And I remember when we first started saying it at the church, I saw some people get their panties in a bunch. I don't know how else to say that phrase, but they got their panties in a bunch about a blue zone, and apparently that's not a good thing. I didn't quite know what that meant, but apparently that's not a good thing, and I want to clarify what a blue zone is, okay, for us. A blue zone is a space where it has been discovered that people in that region, in that area, live to be over 100 years. A blue zone is a place where it is observed that the people in that region have healthy practices. Now, a blue zone stood out to Patrick and I, and in our marriage and in our careers, we've kind of navigated the health conversations with different sectors of people and different communities, and as we've put together this concept of health, we've realized that the world is groaning for longevity. And we don't want to just be healthy, we want to have vitality. We want to have energy. It's not a matter of, I want to be young again. I think that's what a lot of the world is looking for, is youth. They're reaching for youth. But what if when you're 80, you were able to bend down and touch the floor just as easily as if you were 20? It's not that I don't want to go back to my 20s. You know what I was doing in my 20s? You don't want to go back to my 20s. I don't want to even relive high school again. I did it all. I did enough. It's not youth that I think the world is looking for when we get surgeries and all kinds of things to change ourselves. I think what we're looking for is vitality. We want to feel like we're not at the end of our life. We want to feel like there's more life. I remember when my dad turned 50, on his 50th birthday, I saw my father change. And he never said it, but I always felt like something flipped. It's like he realized his life's no longer in front of him. He felt like his life was behind him. And he only had so much more time, and he didn't know how much more time that was. What if the blue zone is saying that 70 is the new 30, right? What if your knees clicking doesn't mean that you're about to sense the weather and that you can't sit down? What if you were able to run the marathon? What if your energy was allowing you to continue to feel the purpose that God has on your heart, and you don't have to figure it all out today because you do have time? The beauty of the blue zone is that life gets to just keep going, but we're doing it with the Spirit that keeps on giving. So we're not just moaning and groaning through more life. I know you guys have probably had those days where it's like, whew, what my mom said. She's like, oh my God, life just can feel so daily. I'm like, God, that resonates. I don't know why that What if life wasn't so daily, but you not only were able to add more years onto your life with energy, but you understood how to function with God in such a way that you were fulfilling your purpose without fear, with fruit that kept spoiling itself over and over in your life. And you were able to give to the younger generations, knowing that you're not passing the torch, you're just lighting their fire. So when we talk about the Blue Zone, I want to hear more from you guys. When you hear the word Blue Zone, what do you think of besides 100 years old? Oh, he still likes me. I like that. Thank you. I like that, babe. Flexibility. Flexibility in your body, or? Yeah, flexibility, mobility, ability. Yeah. Active. Being active, not just hiking up mountains, but being available to do things when people ask you to do things. Multi-generational. How do you mean that, Larry? Seeing your great-grandchildren. Yes, and actually growing up with them. Actually growing up with them. Yes, and not just sitting in a rocking chair next to them, perpetuating that same image that we think of a grandparent. It's like, no, you're breaking the mold. You're actually walking with them, bringing them to your world and letting them see what you saw, and you're not just a story. Completing your assignment, yes, yes. So many of us, I think, when we get older, I remember seeing a quote the other day, and it says, the youth is wasted on the young, or something like that. Yeah, and I thought that was such a sad statement. It's like, it's kind of true. It's like you finally get the faculties to just move in your purpose and your assignment, but then either your body's broken down or you feel like you started too late and you can't really do what you really want to do. Yeah, but now you can complete it when you're in the Blue Zone. Absolutely. 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 So the opportunity to do the right thing now that you have the knowledge and the life experience. I love that. Love yourself without explaining. Oh, you finally get the opportunity. I love that. I love that. Yes. Wholeness and longevity. So, how many of you guys, when you hear the concept of Blue Zone, you see it as like a place that you go to? How many of you guys see it that way? Yeah, you do a little bit. All right, I like the hand wobble. Yeah. Yes. So when I originally heard of the Blue Zone, that's how it was presented. There was a documentary I'd love to share with you guys. We need to post it in the Telegram group. For those of you guys who aren't in our Telegram group, by the way, we have our notifications and our communications through Telegram, and so would love to connect with you guys in there. But, I'm feeling this one. When I first saw the Blue Zone, just the word zone, I think of like a place. And it almost felt like I'm over here and the Blue Zone's over there, and they get to do the thing and I don't get to do the thing. I either need to go to Japan or Costa Rica to get what they have. Also, in the documentary, they did a really good visual depiction of a lot of the concepts that have to do with Blue Zones, and a lot of it involved maps. It's like this area of Costa Rica is a Blue Zone. What I wanted to say that God told me to share with you is that a Blue Zone is not a place. And yes, we want to bring a Blue Zone to Dallas. But a blue zone, not being a place, if it's not a place, the blue zone is you. It's a mindset. You are the blue zone. 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 You get a car. You get a car. No, you are the blue zone. You guys here in these seats that even have a resonance with the message. You are the blue zone, meaning the only way the blue zone can happen is if you change your life. If you become the representation, if you fulfill your assignment, if you learn how to become flexible, if you stay committed to your health, if you lose the weight, if you rid yourself of the heart disease. But it's going to come through your journey and your testimony to then be able to create a blue zone. You are the blue zone. Wherever you stand, there gets to be a blue zone. Wherever you go, you get to be a blue zone. And Patrick said it so well earlier. There was a statistic we learned that South Dallas statistically has a 60-year lifespan. 60 years. And then he had people raise their hands to say, did you make it over 69? Because if you did, you're already breaking the statistic. Every year you live just a little bit longer, you are slowly breaking that statistic. But how you do that comes down to you. Because each and every single one of you guys in these seats, you are coming from a different story, a different background, a different life experience, a different set of tools, a different perspective. And you're here to fulfill a different purpose, a different mission, and a different calling. But what this requires first is that you take a position in your own life and say, I am the leader of this mission. It's me. God's put the conviction in me. It's only I that can begin to deteriorate the past of the generational curses that have come with my family's health history. It's only me that can overcome that narrative that I, as a child, would watch my mom speak to herself in the mirror about how she didn't like this, and she didn't like this, and she didn't like this. It's only I that can continue to go out and be active when I used to beg and plead that my parents would go play with me outside, but they said, later in a minute, I'll do that later. It's only me that can say, you know what, I'm not going to sit on the rocking chair whenever my kids want to play on the floor. I'm going to sit down there and get down there with them to break that curse. It's me. Because when you think about all of the things Patrick said about the 80% eating and the alcohol and all of these different variables that have so-called helped these people to live as long as they've lived, they didn't consciously say, hey, let me go into this file and see how to create a blue zone. Let me do this, 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 and this in order to create this blue zone here. They followed what felt right in their spirit. Some of it may have already been cultural. Some of it may have already been in their family. But it just so happened to equal out to where it helped them live to be 100 years. What I think whenever we're looking at creating a blue zone here is our story. We may have new variables to add to what creates a 100-year blue zone. The documentary that they had, they went through to all of these countries and just made observations. Well, all the people here, they do these things. This country does these things, and this country does these things. Therefore, this is what creates a blue zone. But what if each of you guys went on your own path, followed your own message from Holy Spirit, paved your own way, owned that place as a leader, and took your authority and your health in your hands and said, you know what, I'm going to do this the way that it feels best for me, and because it feels good and health feels good, then that means I'm being healthy, and I'm going to get myself there. Those people who made the documentary are going to say, hey, we need to make a documentary 2.0 because these people over here are doing something different. What if you guys got to say, I followed Jesus into my 100th year? What if you guys got to say, I didn't even read the manual, I just did what felt right to me? I really want to emphasize this piece here because, guys, leadership is not easy. And leadership is only not easy because it tends to be that when we decide to step into leadership, because it looks so different than what the world is doing, there's no way to conform to anything. So the actual actions you have to take are going to feel oddly easy to you, but it's going to feel so different from what the rest of the world is doing, you might second guess yourself into hard. I always tell my clients, if it feels overwhelming, it's not healthy for you. And yes, I'm talking about that diet you've been trying to get yourself to do for the last 10 years, right? If it feels overwhelming, there's a step before the step that you can take that actually feels easy. And it feels like, that's not too bad. I can do that this week. Yeah, I can take the next step. I can do this thing. I want to run 6 miles, but 6 miles feels too long. Let me try to walk 1. Have you guys noticed that anything you've committed to in your health and it feels kind of easy for you, you actually stick to it? Yeah. That's what consistency is supposed to feel like. Easy. And as Patrick talked about shalom and sitting in the seat of rest, that's health. That's health. Some of my clients would call me and say, oh my God, I don't have anything bad to talk about this week. Things are working out and I just feel so bad. I don't know what to talk about on our phone call today. And I'm like, isn't this the goal? This is what we're here for. Your health is supposed to bring you joy. But we've been fighting and striving for health for so long that when it feels easy, we feel like we're doing something wrong. So when it comes to leadership, I wanted to talk to you guys about the concept of leadership. This is what active and attractive is. I primarily speak to women, and we really emphasize the fact that, honey, you're on a mission, and you forgot to take care of yourself. So you're burnt out, you're busted, you're tired, your hormones are doing some funny things, and you might have put on a couple of pounds, and it's not because you're a bad person, it's just because you forgot you love you, right? So when it comes to leadership, I talk to leaders. As Patrick said, I got my master's degree in exercise physiology and got thrown out into the big world and started working at a high-end gym. And at this gym, it just so happened to be when the membership is $160 an hour and the training sessions are $135 an hour, or $165 a month and then $135 an hour. When people who can afford that sleep through their sessions and they could just bite the cost of that training session, it's a certain group of people, right? And so these are the people that I immediately started training straight out of college. And what I found is that these people were doctors, celebrities, lawyers, very influential people. They had their own businesses, CEOs, law firms, all kinds of things. And I was very intimidated by them. I was like, oh my God, I don't know, I have all my textbook knowledge and I did a lot of science and I taught a lot of Zumba classes, but I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. And I ended up slowly realizing that these people who I put as better than me would sit in front of me in their first session and pour out their heart and tell me how terrible they felt in their body, how uncomfortable they are, how much they hate themselves, how much they don't like this, that, and that. And I'm looking at them like, how is this allowed? Look at all the stuff you've accomplished. This many people know who you are. You're living in your purpose. And what I found out is that some of the leading people in our world start at the same place as all of us, where inside they are self-conscious, they don't feel worthy, they don't feel pretty, they don't feel like they can make a true commitment when it has anything to do with themselves. And slowly, it started to occur to me that leaders are the ones who, when you don't have health involved, are going to deteriorate at some point. And it will affect the incredible skill set that you've built up. It will affect your ability to reach out and impact other people. It'll affect the way that you feel whenever you start overgiving. It'll affect the way that you feel compassion for others, because your compassion you can give other people can only go as far as you are able to give it to yourself. So leadership, I started to realize, is the word. That's the word. And how many of you guys in this room identify as a leader? Just want to see. All right, there's a healthy amount of hands. That's good. I want to tell you, every single one of you guys here, you're a leader. You're a leader. You don't have to own a $1 million company to be qualified as a leader. If you feel responsible for anything or anyone in this world, you are a leader. Because it is your intention to carry out a vision that you see in your mind and, again, bring it here on this earth. So you are a leader. And when it comes to leadership, and this is more specifically in the female population, what I've found is that our intention as a leader is to be selfless. We learned that from the very beginning at church. Serve your neighbor as you would, love your neighbor as you'd love yourself. Love your neighbor, love your neighbor, love your neighbor, love them, show them love, give. And we tend to create a pattern. It's a very strong skill set. It helps a lot of people. It's a very important thing to do. But what we often forget is that the phrase is, love thy neighbor as you love yourself. You can only love your neighbor as much as you love yourself. And I love you guys, but I'll tell you right now, I guarantee you've gone home after giving to someone so much. And because your life when you come home is not as optimal as the other person's life that you just made better, you went home with a little resentment, a little anguish, a little shame, a little guilt, a little frustration. And that's been stewing inside for a very long time. There's a lot of us that have lived in overgiving, and it has destroyed our hormones. It has destroyed our bodies. It has destroyed the way we see ourselves. So a lot of times I found myself giving and doing the right thing, but secretly I was giving because I wanted affection in return. I wanted admiration. I wanted something back. I wasn't truly giving from an overflowing well because my well was not filled because I didn't fill it. Now that takes some class 201. That's some high level thinking. You gotta really, really be able to be honest with yourself when you think about that, because the most giving parents are also secretly wishing that they were going to get something back in return when it'll never come back at the same capacity a parent could love. In that light, what does that mean for you as a leader? Your purpose is still here to serve. It's still here to give. That's the kingdom part in health, and kingdom health. The health part is that if you allowed yourself, and hear my heart in this language because I know you know what I mean, if you were allowed yourself to be a little more selfish, that is going to be the most selfless thing that you can do for the people you care about the most. Knowing your boundaries, knowing what you need, even knowing what you want. Those are the pieces that I have seen the most powerful people crumble under because they didn't uphold those standards for themselves first. It's like trying to be a cup, but your walls are loose, and you could never really hold anything inside of yourself first so that then you can become the overflowing cup. So when you know yourself and what you're here to do and why you're here to do it, well, that makes you purposeful. When you really know what you're here for and why you matter, that is the motivation that drives the rest of your health. Oftentimes, we're like, okay, I know I gotta start running. I feel God calling me to run, and I gotta run. What did I say before? My most successful clients are the ones who know their identity. What is your identity? It's the thing you're called here to do. If you really believe in what you are called here to do, you're going to realize no one else is here to do that but you. If you believe what you're called here to do is going to help the world, it is important that you are taken care of in order to fulfill that. So with that, to fulfill the kingdom, you gotta be healthy. And as you said earlier, health is so many different facets. It's not just body, it's social health, it's occupational health, it's financial health, it's physical, mental, emotional health. There's boundaries on boundaries we've got to start putting in place in order to steward ourselves. Because when you can steward yourself, then you can steward others. So that selfishness isn't to take away from other people, it's to give to yourself first so that then you can overflow into other people. That's the practical application. Now, the hard part is that it's not easy, because, okay, I can, smack everyone around. I'm always talking to myself, too. I have to have the same conversation with myself. But it's not easy because what's required for you to take ownership of this leadership role is that you, as the leader, have to change. If we're going to create this blue zone in you and in you and in you, change has to occur. And change doesn't feel comfortable. I love you guys. Change doesn't feel comfortable. Eric invited me to speak at an event, God, what was that, 5 years ago? Man, it was forever ago. And I was up on stage, and sometimes God will say things through me, and I'm hearing it for the first time, so I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, whoa, okay. I heard myself say, people go to the gym to intentionally fail. It's the only place that people will pay to go intentionally fail because they know change is on the other side of that. And I'm talking about the painful kind of pain where you're walking out, your muscles are a little sore for the next 3 days. You kind of can't sit down on the toilet because you worked your legs too hard. You can't go up the stairs, nothing. It's uncomfortable. And unfortunately, without the discomfort, you're actually maintaining. I remember in physiology, we learned that the heart rate needs to be over 70%, 60 to 70%, in order to maintain an 80% to 100% its maximum in order to actually change. And that never left me because I'm like, I think that change is just the kind of general rule we could observe in most things. If you're doing half, you're just knocking on the door of change and seeing if you can come in. If you're doing right above change, you're kind of maintaining a little bit. But outside of that, the real change, it comes at a little bit of maximum discomfort. Now, this is not my invitation for you guys to go torture yourselves, because that's the opposite of what I believe, but it's recognizing that when you want to go commit to something, the commitment by itself, just saying I'm going to go do something uncomfortable, that already feels like a 9 for me. I'm going to start walking every day. That's a lot. I don't even know if I can afford time to do that. When am I going to walk every day? These are the questions we have. Just the mental change alone feels like 90% work, right? This is what's required. Now, I want to be intentional with saying that because I don't want to sugarcoat this. This isn't do a little bit and you'll get something. You've got to go further outside of that comfort zone. And as a leader and as a kingdom citizen, it's important to recognize that when you get to that change, that's where you're going to see the results that you're looking for. So with that, the question from there is, where do you start? How many of you guys feel like you already know what Spirit is calling you to change next? Are you guys open to sharing? I'm just curious, anybody? Maybe you want to start walking, maybe it's food. Yeah, please. Yeah.
He's been talking to me about this for a while.
Yeah.
He's told me you can't do what I've called you to do if you don't change this.
Wow.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So he's been talking to me about the food because that's very key.
Yeah.
What you're putting in, like we've been talking about, and then the exercise obviously it's important, but what you feed your body, what fuels it, that's gonna that longevity and all those things you need. Yeah. I mean, and there's other things he's talked to me about, just spiritual things, but when we're just talking about this aspect,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Absolutely. And for those of you guys who know a lot of what I teach, a lot of those changes, like with food or movement, it ends up correlating with other areas of your life. And I know you feel that. I always say exercise will showcase your relationship with execution and your relationship with taking action. And nutrition will showcase your relationship with provision. And so as that's being called to you, what I hear for you is, massive provision's trying to find you right now. And it's going to come through not you forcing yourself and cramming yourself into a restrictive diet. But here's the key, guys. When you feel called to something, there's a relationship that's trying to be formed. It's a relationship with food that you're supposed to forge that's going to look different than any diet that you've probably done in the past, right? But the pathway to getting there, most of us have put a whip to our back and we've tried to whip ourselves into shape and we think that's the 90% change that we're looking for. It's not. It's you shifting and committing to something, choosing something that feels good. Like, oh, all right, well, I can do no creamer in my coffee. I don't know, it feels like such a small move though. I got a lot of weight to lose. I got a lot of joint inflammation to get rid of. I've got, heart disease to overcome. A little bit of creamer, is that really going to make a big difference? But for you, it might. For you, it might be just walking to the stop sign and coming back. That might be 90% effort. But again, when you're looking to your neighbor, someone leading their own life, you're comparing and you're saying, but they did more. Or they did this over there. Is my way enough? If it feels like, but I can do it, and maybe I could do more, but this part right here is already 90% effort for you. If you can get down to the end of the street, if you could change the little piece next, if you can do whatever your next step is, that's all you need to do until it starts to feel like a 50 or 60%. That's all you have to do. And what's so beautiful about how God works is when you enhance yourself in one small area, He's going to place another desire on your heart that's also going to feel just as easy, and another desire that's going to feel just as easy, and another one, and then before you know it, you're stair-stepping your way to the healthiest version you've ever found. But we look at how other people are moving. And this is an attack on your language because this is all of us, but we go into the shoulds and we say, well, I should be doing this and I should. It's too hard. It's too much. What I want for you guys is to really own this concept of leadership. 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 It feels bright. It feels like you should have a microphone in your hand, right? It feels like you should be leading thousands of people. You should be leading yourself. When you start to move the way you choose to move, the grace you give yourself, this pace you find that works for you, and if you dare find joy in your process, if you dare peel back a smile as you move, the people that you're responsible for, they're going to see how you're choosing. And then when people learn, they learn best through observation, because the best leaders are the ones who do it first. So as you sort your way to the best answer, it's more about that journey than the actual answer you land on that's going to bring you the multitudes of health you're looking for. It's the grace, it's the conversation, it's the slow pace that's going to allow you to tap into true health. So whether it's creamer for you or walking for you and sprinting for you, it doesn't matter what the answer is. The leadership journey is the one that says, I'm here and I've got to figure out how to get here. That's the part that your kids are going to watch, your mom's going to watch, your auntie, your cousin, your brother, your best friend. They're going to see how you're making decisions and stewarding your path. That's more important than the keto diet, the vegan diet, the this supplement, the that supplement. You are the blue zone. You are the blue zone. How we get you to 100 is going to be the most beautiful story of your lifetime. But I want you to remember that it's you that's going to walk. It's you that maybe you'll run. Maybe you're going to lift your way to 100, but whatever your answer is, I want you to remember that your answer is your own, and it is about the journey that's going to get you there. So, I think that's my time. Yeah? All right.
You want to stay up here with me for a second?
Sure.
Is she great or what? Yeah, we love a good Sammy time. I love what you said there on how for this to happen, it all starts with you. You know, I have no doubt any of you guys here trust God. There's nothing that makes me doubt that by any means. So now we got to learn to trust ourselves, you know, and know that we can show up and be that image bearer and really crush this thing. So we believe in you guys. I know we're going to do this. You know, it's not something that we can just kind of get the benefit of seeing in 12 months. You know, we got to take our time with this vision of, you know, building out that longevity. But you guys are the perfect people to make this thing happen. So we love doing this with you guys. I would love to just kind of as we begin to close out on the evening, number one, I want to provide a little bit of space if anybody has questions. We still have about 10 minutes or so there. And then number two, just continue to encourage you guys. If you're not already plugged in on Thursdays, get your butt down to class on a Thursday night. We have fun like this every single week. And you sweat afterwards too with a little workout. It's fun. We do it for all levels of fitness. And if you guys, again, want to pour into the fitness equipment and help us upgrade that, feel free to do that. And yeah, this community doesn't just stop on a Saturday, right? We roll through the year, we keep going. So we'd love to have you guys be a part of that. And this Blue Zone mission is something that's going to keep on growing. So appreciate you guys coming on in. We'd love to give a little bit of space if anybody just has any questions, like whether it's, you know, something in your own personal space right now that you're navigating in your health journey, or just, you know, something you need to soundboard a little bit. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Come on.
Absolutely.
Come
I love
on.
that you said character building too. It
Yeah.
is. I know.
It hurts, but it's
Yeah.
good.
How many of you guys feel like in your health specifically, you know God's just waiting on you? I feel like that's like just a health, mostly just a health area. Besides, I've seen that a lot with people in their maybe he's given you a business idea, or he knows he's asked you to do a few things. But I feel like specifically in the health realm, there's this. It's not God won't do it. It's like he's waiting on us to do it, and I find that phenomenon interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're that black sheep. You're the one going the other way, right? Forerunning.
Yeah. That's
Come
so
on.
beautiful. I love that.
Come on. Anybody else got something? Yeah. Thank you.
That you would prosper and be in health even as your soul prospers. I feel like you defined that today. I mean, I understood it to a point, and he's given me that as a foundational scripture. And trying to walk that out and understanding how to walk that out, I don't think I had the keys until today. Because this being here, I mean, I drove an hour almost to get here. And it's just like, I just went and decided to look up doing a race online. I don't do that.
Yeah.
I just went to the site and I saw the prayer walk, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's free and I can go walk.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know we were doing a seminar at first
Yeah.
until I got the email and it says
Come on.
there's a seminar. And I was like, okay. So this was a divine appointment for me
Yeah.
because you gave keys today that I absolutely needed. This is big setup, big
on.
setup.
I love that.
So
I
happy
love
to see
that.
you. What's your name? Tanya. That's right. That's
Yeah,
right. I
Tanya.
remember.
Somebody else raise their hand? Thought I saw a hand go up. Yeah.
So thank you so much. And I kind of agree with the young lady up here in front. You gave me keys that I didn't even know. I never correlated leadership to health. And let me tell you just a little testimony. So I've been in y'all place about 2 years, and I would come, but I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, 100%. So anyway, so the first of the year went to past the 21 day of fasting, and one of the things that he prayed for the first night that we started, he said, this time I pray that you guys do not gain the weight back that you lost during the 21 day of fast. I say, I'm going to take that this time. I'm not gaining this weight back. I'm changing my life this year. So fast forward, I eventually started going to still coming to the Thursday night class, but I joined the Crunch, and I started joining. I was like, Lord, first I was praying, Lord, give me a desire to want to exercise, because I didn't have that desire. It felt like a chore, so I didn't really want to go. So as I started going, I started wanting to go, day by day. So now I'm committed to going. I go 4 days a week, and I'm making sure time in my day, okay, my work schedule is like, okay, I got to go exercise though. So it's a priority now. And not only that, it's changing my life, it's changing my husband. He has lost 10 pounds. He would have never did that. His blood pressure is down. I mean, everything, but I didn't correlate it to leadership. And now I see my daughter even saying the other day, I was talking to her on the phone, I was like, okay, I'm on my way to the gym. She's like, Mom, I wish I could be half as committed as you are. So thank you for saying that.
I'm
'cause
so
that
happy,
make me
Yolanda.
wanna
Yolanda, do you
keep
mind
going
if I
forward.
ask you a few more questions on that, since you have that testimony? Because I feel like this is the perfect example. In the past, whether it's someone trying to tell you or you trying to tell someone else that they need to be healthier, did you feel like that worked compared to you just doing it yourself and noticing the ripple effect that it had in your family?
Nothing like lead by example.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that part.
an example.
And I'm curious for you too, do you know the moment that things clicked for you, or was there a series of events, or did it just kind of come on its own time?
It was a series of events. Of course, I was having some problems with my knees as well. Patrick, with my knees. I was having problems with my knees. So anyway, that was another thing. I was like, no, I am not taking this. I'm not going to have a problem. I'm going to do what I need to do to get healthy, because I'm going to be able to run around and walk and do what I need to do. So I love going to the gym now.
Love that. I love that. That's so fantastic.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, it really is, because Yolanda probably wouldn't have been able to tell you exactly what she needed to do, that it was going to be strength training at Crunch Fitness after a 21-day fast, but with enough trial, all of a sudden you kind of realize, you know what? I need to start asking different questions to God.
Come on.
And I need to start saying, you know what, can you just give me the thing that I need because I'm ready? That patience to wait for the readiness is something I don't think a lot of us carry right away. We think we should figure it out now, or we should already have it now, or we should have the motivation right now. Sometimes you're just not there yet, but you're on your way there.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we're trying to figure out what's the strategy. But the strategy finds you in the right time, and it should feel like oh, that sounds like a plan. I'll go ahead and do this 21 days. Okay, I'll go ahead and then before you know it, you're actually here and you're in joy here. And that's the most important part. I think the worst curse that could happen for you is for you to have and create the body you want and you to still feel unhappy with it. But when you go through to where you want to go with joy, when you get there, you will have joy. It's not supposed to bring you joy. Again, it's the journey there that's going to bring it to you. And then you're going to be able to be a steward of joy or peace or patience. Whatever you take to get there, that's what's going to be there that you get to represent and model once you finally do get there. So I'm so grateful for your journey, Yolanda. That's amazing.
Yeah, you can definitely see it too. You've been doing some great things. We love
Oh,
it.
and then we had, oh my gosh, we had Laquita come, and we just so happened to cancel class, but it was Laquita's first time, and she didn't know, and Yolanda was there, and she was there, and they were the only two there, and Laquita ended up going to the gym with Yolanda, because Yolanda now has that supernatural ability to go to the gym, and she said, you know what, come to the gym with me, I'll get you a guest pass, and that's how she paid it forward. She didn't tell, she didn't say what she should do, she was a walking representation to the degree that she's like, you know what, even if you're not sure, I'm sure, so come with me.
Yeah.
And now Laquita is just all involved in everything, and she's making her own transformation as she shared earlier. So beautiful.
So good. Anybody else got any shares or questions? Hold on, April. We got to mic you up. No. We got to get you a mic. There's people hard of hearing here. It's okay. We're healing it, though.
When Sammy said, I forgot to love myself, I guess that's what I'm learning is, when I don't feel good, I snap at people. I'm not as kind as I need to be when I don't feel good. So when I serve myself in, eating foods that serve my body, I am serving others. We were raised to serve God, serve others, and then serve ourselves. Well, by serving myself, I am serving others. And it was just kind of a little light bulb moment when you said, I forgot to love myself. And when you look at it that way, that it's serving myself is serving others, it was a change in my head.
Yay.
Yeah. Man, guys, thank you so much for coming on out, guys. It's been a great day. It's been a long day and a great day, so I know everybody's kind of ready for a little bit of rest right now, and I think it's the perfect way for us to wind down in the evening. So just want to encourage you guys, go grab your family tonight, go grab some loved ones, get a little sleep. You want to share something, Gracie?
About leadership because I think it was 2020, I went to downtown Dallas and I was in the court building and God said, go up. I'm gonna give you a name for your business, and it's Amazing Grace by Grace. And I was talking to my best friend yesterday. I said, I haven't did anything with this. I said, but I'm gonna seek God. What, I said, I done did this. I got the cards. Everything is made, because I used to travel a lot, prophetic dancing and stuff a lot. So I said, okay, God, show me the new beginning of me. Because it's all about me now. Yeah. Raise kids, husband, grandkids. Now it's about loving me. And it's okay to say no when I don't want to do it.
Absolutely.
So I'm enjoying that. So now I'm going to see Miss Sammy about what I'm supposed to go.
I love that.
What I'm supposed to do.
So good. Come on.
Love it.
I love it.
Business
I love
is
it.
being birthed. Good health means good business.
Yeah.
Good transactions with good people.
Again, thank you guys so much for coming on out. Go grab your loved ones tonight. Enjoy a good meal with them. Have some recreation, relax into the evening. You've done a lot this week, whether it be your work or even just coming out here for the full day. So just really want to encourage you guys to tap into rest tonight. Whatever that looks like for you individually, and true full rest. Again, not scrolling your phone for 3 hours before bed while you kind of, just do your thing, Go out there and spend some time with some good people, or maybe get some alone time with God and reflect on some of the stuff that came through today for you guys. So really appreciate each and every single one of you guys being here. My prayer for each and every single one of us is just to be able to hear God clearly in our health going forward and take those steps day by day. Again, it's not something where we can, I don't know about you guys, sometimes I feel like I just want to put life on ×2 speed just to get to the next thing, right? It's like, okay, I know what's going to happen this month, but let's just go to the next thing or the next thing. And I think what we can do really well right now is just learn to slow down. And if we're going to build a blue zone, it's going to take a few hundred years, right? So let's take our time on it. There's no rush, but you got things to do today, and so own that, find it, and come on a Thursday night and have some fun with us. Thank you guys for coming on out. We appreciate y'all.
Woo woo. Thank you guys.